XRP family, welcome back to the Crypto ZX channel. Love each and every one of you guys. Thank you for all your support. But let's take a look at what's happening with the price and, of course, what we could be expecting going into Saturday morning. Looking across the board, a lot of green. Sure, no one's complaining here. Looking at the price of XRP, it's up 0.8%. Nothing too crazy, but again, we are in the green. Also up 0.4% in Bitcoin compared with the price currently sitting at $2.08. The valuation at 121.4 billion and the 24-hour trading volume at about $1.5 billion. But before we get into any further, as always, just a quick disclaimer, anything on this channel is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence and research when you are investing in crypto. So China's M2 money supply just hit a record $326 trillion, and analysts say the surge in liquidity could help push Bitcoin towards that 90K mark. Speaking about 90K, if you follow the channel on a regular day-to-day basis, I've been speaking about that level, quite a bit. If you break above the 86K range, we could actually push up to 90K. And with the way, the M2 supply, for China and even the US is going, I think this could really see crypto, have that positive correlation to that. So we'll see what happens. So far, the price of Bitcoin has been ranging really nicely, within the, 38.2 Fibonacci retracement level, but we're going to take it one step at a time. But moving forward, shout out to our friend Smoke, breaking XRP spot ETF could get the green light by May 22nd. Wow. Of course, not confirmed, just speculating. But look at this, the SEC acknowledged XRP application for spot ETFs towards the end of Feb, as well as other tokens. May 22nd is an important date to watch in light of the recent ETF's approval of the 2x XRP ETF from Ethereum, as the SEC must to respond to Grayscale XRP spot ETF by then. Since this leveraged ETF relies on returns from the European ETPs and swap agreements to guarantee twice the daily returns of XRP, it's hard to see how a spot product is more risky and therefore diminishes most arguments for denying these applications. So again, we'll see what happens. Let me know your personal thoughts down below regarding this. If this gets approved, big pivot moment, I think. But I personally think, they're going to be waiting for the big dogs to come on board, such as BlackRock and some of the other ones, before they start, accepting. I personally think that, but again, I would love to be wrong. Again, everyone has their own ways of looking at this. Let me know your personal thoughts down below as to what you think. Moving forward, tokenizing, real world assets is unlocking liquidity and revolutionizing finance. Ripple Matthews says it is the next leap, bringing bonds, T-bills, and more onto the blockchain. Europe leads, but global framework still needed. Very, very interesting take here. And of course, we are talking about real world assets being tokenized, at a record level. We never used to even talk about that. And here we are in 2025 and, real world assets, being tokenized are being discussed quite heavily. And, with XRP Ledger, being that one-stop shop, I think this just changes the game. But moving forward, Brad Gerlinghouse said this 3 years ago. Cross-border payments are to Ripple what books were to Amazon in 1997. At that time, people didn't get it. Now, it's finally making sense, and it has everything to do with Ripple's $1.25 billion acquisition of Hidden Road. Let's break it down. When Ripple announced it was acquiring Hidden Road, we knew, it was big, but we didn't know how big it was. Now, Hidden Road just got approved by, the FINRA as a broker-dealer in the U.S. This changes everything. And, we talked about this yesterday, and here we have it. All these puzzle pieces are starting to make sense. But last but not least, look at this. Yes, we do. The majority of ETFs are XRP, and literal tsunami of traditional finance is at the doorstep. waiting to take over. Something we've been discussing for quite some time. All these puzzle pieces are starting to align together. Could not be more excited as to what the future holds. But let's take a look at what's happening with the prices. So dominance did see quite a sharp drop from yesterday, from 64.1% down to 63.75%, which again is a sharp drop for dominance. Of course, in the grand scheme of things, it's still really high, but if we do actually end up dropping below this level, I think we could see more excitement for altcoins in the upcoming days ahead of us. If you're looking at BTC, let's give it a refresh live and understanding what's happening with Bitcoin. It was able to get back above 85k range briefly, obviously not managing to hold above that range, but we are in this upwards trajectory, still in the 38.2, which is of course nice to see. But the fact that Bitcoin did see a little bit of a bounce while dominance pulled down, of course altcoins are going to have a nice reaction to that, and that's exactly what we're seeing happening. If you're looking at XRP right now, let's take a look at XRP on the hourly time frame. If you're looking at XRP's price here, you can see this for yourself. We're in the 23.6 Fibonacci, the 38.2 Fibonacci retracement level. We did see a nice wick up to 210. But of course, we have seen a little bit of a minor pullback as, Bitcoin also is seeing it. But, we are back in the 38.2 Fibonacci retracement level, which again is amazing to see. But one step at a time, we need to understand it's not going to happen overnight that, we do get back into 23.6 and start heading towards all-time highs. But, the patience is being tested. But, speaking about patience, a lot of people always tend to forget where the price of XRP was just a few months ago. And even since then, this is up more than almost 300%. So let me know down below what you guys think. Love each and every one of you guys. We'll see you later in Crypto ZX, and peace out.